And you go until 29:30, right?
29:30, yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'm ready.
All right, stand by. Here we go. It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents, not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. He's been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan.
Welcome to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Awesome show this week. All kind of stuff going on. Lots of great things going on in the real estate world. We'll talk about, first off, huge news in terms of interest rates this past week. Went almost back down to a one-year low, which was awesome. We'll talk about that. That came off the heels of some jobs numbers. We'll talk about what that means. And also there's a 100% chance right now that the Fed is going to reduce the rate based on a lot of calculations in September, which is looking very, very good. We'll talk about all that, what that means in terms of mortgage rates. And we're already seeing buyers jump back in. We bounced back big time from the so-called hurricane little slowdown we had. We talked about in last week's show. Sales, new properties under contract week over week up 26%. So we'll talk about what's happening with that. All kind of great stuff. Also, a big shout out to our local congressman, Russell Fry. I'll explain why on today's show. Pretty cool thing there. We'll talk about. And I'll look at kind of what's going on, next month in terms of that Fed meeting and how that's going to apply to our fall market. Everyone's predicting you're going to see a fall surge in terms of new home sales or new sales, both resale and new construction. Which is very good. We'll recap the numbers for last month. Anybody that missed last week's show. Another cool thing we had on last week's agenda, just didn't have time for, is how to prepare for home inspections as a home seller. Lots of great stuff. We get 200% ROI. Some you don't get near as much ROI. Another big thing, too, is that Kamala came out this past week. Wants to increase capital gains from 19% to 45% and also wants to tax unrealized gains at 25%. We'll talk about what the impact of that is on the real estate market here, especially Myrtle Beach, when you have something with lots of second homes, investment properties, things like that in today's show.
For any new listeners, just to give you an update on just who Blake is, it's an amazing story. Industry leaders have dubbed him the real estate whiz kid. Been featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal, NBC, Realtor Magazine, and many other national publications. He has been personally endorsed by Sean Hannity and Glenn Beck. One of those by itself is an accomplishment, but all of them together is unprecedented. Last week, we learned a little about how you and your team work and how a good portion of your success has come from the trademark systems you have developed to help both buyers and sellers here in our market. Recap quickly for anyone new to the show what those are exactly and a quick overview of how they work, Blake.
Absolutely. And that's the whole reason why we do the show. And I made a promise a long time ago. It's a little repetitive if you listen, every week, but I'm telling you, I have longtime listeners that reach out to us and they're, man, you're not going to believe this. I listened with so-and-so and had the worst experience. And we're reaching out to you now. And that just kind of tells me that, man, we're still having the same problem over and over. So I made a promise a while back that, look, I'm going to talk about this at least one time on the show every week because it's the only thing that matters. All the other stuff like the market numbers, interest rates don't really matter because it doesn't matter at all to you if you make the wrong decision and pick the wrong agent. Because here's the deal. The single most important variable that determines your success or failure as a home seller comes down to one thing only. That thing is the agent that you choose, period. Not your wall color, not your grass quality, not your grass color, right? It comes down to the agent that you choose, specifically how they actually execute from A to Z. What most people don't realize is that when you sell a property, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one's handled correctly, it puts money in your pocket, property gets sold. That could be anything from, like, obviously price strategy, right? Do you price it too high, price too low? Order the photos, the quality of the photos. Does your agent answer the telephone when a buyer calls off a for sale sign? Does your agent actually put a for sale sign out? We've seen many cases they can't afford a for sale sign. There's all these nuances that make or break the process. And what it does is it's like stacking dominoes where each one of those dominoes, if handled correctly, creates an advantage for you. Anything handled incorrectly creates a disadvantage. So what we do is we stack those dominoes in your favor to give you the ultimate competitive advantage. And when I got in the business, I'm like, man, there's got to be a better way. What I found was, and that was 19 plus years ago, to be 20 years in real estate this January. What I found was everyone just did the same thing. They did the 3 Ps. They promised you will get the listing. Number 2, they put it into MLS. And 3, they prayed that someone else brings a buyer. And meanwhile, they're in the street getting the next listing and really just leaving you to kind of fend for yourself. They would get half the commission, be okay with that. and 50% of properties sell. A lot of 50% of sellers were out of luck and they were very frustrated, but the agent did okay. And what's even crazier, look at the actual data. I talk about this all the time, is the average agent in our marketplace sells 4 homes per year. That's 1 per quarter. There's not a whole lot of money to even eat with or put food on the table, much less spend in marketing on your behalf. And more importantly, they don't really have a pulse on the marketplace. If they're just selling 1 home per quarter, they don't really know what's going on in real time, right? Do I price it more aggressive? Do I price it a little bit, lower for a quicker sale based on the market slowing down? They don't know because they're only doing 1 per quarter. And on top of that, when they're doing 1 per quarter, they really operate out of what we call desperation and doing anything and everything to get that sale, including, right, throwing their client under the bus, which we see this happen every single day. So I made a promise, like, look, I'm going to make sure we talk about this over and over because people make the biggest mistake of thinking that all agents are the same, just like they think of agents as a commodity. It could not be any further from the truth. They're humans. And we know about humans, they're all different, right? Just like any doctor, any lawyer, right? Whatever it is, if you're charged with a crime you did not commit or somebody suing you, trying to take all the assets that you own and worked your entire life for, you don't want just some part-time attorney who tried a few cases. I don't want someone who just referred me someone who takes a couple cases every year. I want the most aggressive attorney who specializes in that type of law to give me the ultimate advantage in the courtroom. And you should demand that same level of excellence for your largest assets in that world, real estate. And so, like I mentioned, the single most important variable comes down to the agent you choose. And so I got out and I was like, how do we make this better? How do we make sure we get great results for our clients almost every single time? And I created this thing called the Guaranteed Sold System. It's the only proven system that sells twice as fast and for up 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. I designed it. We licensed other agents, other parts of the country, but it gives you a massive competitive advantage. We stack all those dominoes up, and I back it up with 2 main things: a large team of people, 35 plus people on the team right now. We have a team of specialists where everyone specializes in each part of the transaction. So they're able to be very, very good versus a generalist who's not really good at anything. They're just doing everything along the way, not at a high level. And so we have inside sales, outside sales, listing specialists, buyer specialists, right? We have listing coordinator, listing closing coordinator. We have full-time videographer, photographer, full-time graphic designer, all that stuff in-house. So we can dominate and make sure we execute with speed at the highest level for our clients. And it gives them a massive competitive through the process. If I can create a small gap for you at point 1, a small gap for you at point 2, a small gap for you at point 3, all the way through 118 different variables, it creates a massive gap between us and the competition down the street. And that's how we sell properties faster and for more money. And when you're dealing with your largest asset, you owe it to yourself to at least investigate it. Your friends, relatives, aunts, uncles, they owe it to themselves to hear from you. And you tell them, look, you got to call my buddy Blake. He has this system. It's called the Guaranteed Sold System, and it works phenomenally. That's what got us featured in Forbes, Wall Street Journal. All of those things is the innovation. And guess what? For buyers out there, it's very difficult, right? There's a very, very dynamic market right now, especially talk about condos. You want to make sure you have a true expert that represents you. And so I designed this thing called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Get you priority access to foreclosures, distressed sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation and purchase price, as well as home inspection to get you that close table successfully. In both of those, we represent that client for life. They need a plumber down the road, we got them. The electrician on the road, we got them. Even if you're a listener and you're not a client of ours, you need somebody to help you from a vendor standpoint you can trust and want a great deal on. Reach out, call us, 843-808-SOLD. Our goal is to open the mind to clients to at least understand how the business works, and you ask the right questions so you get the right agent to represent you for sure.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. You know, the real estate market is constantly changing. Now, here to give us more insight into this is my friend Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Now, I know certain programs make it a lot easier for the seller. Which ones do you offer?
Hey, Sean. In addition to our traditional program that sells your home for top dollar, we have an instant offer, a multi-offer, and a guaranteed offer program. I represent a large investment fund with millions of dollars who are looking to buy homes in the Grand Strand right now.
And what kind of return can you expect from them?
Here's what I'll say. Every seller's needs are different. Some need maximum convenience, and we deliver that every single time. Some need the most amount of money, and we have a program for that as well. We have a trademark program that nets sellers up to 5 to 10% more money than traditional industry methods.
All right, great insight, and thank you for this update. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 808-SOLD, or online at blakesloan.com. That's blakesloan.com, and consider your home sold.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corbett. I'm excited to connect with Blake Sloan, the only real estate agent in Myrtle Beach that I recommend. You offer several options to home sellers, which really takes away the stress.
That's right. For sellers in a time crunch, you can agree to sell it by a certain date, take cash for your home, or even rent it.
That's great. And if the seller has a bid more time?
Use our proven marketing plan and sell it for the highest price.
Work with my friend Blake Sloan and get your home sold on your terms.
Welcome back to Blake Sloan Radio Show. Brand new market update. Lots of stuff going on in the market. But really quick, first, want to give a big shout out. I mentioned earlier to our local congressman here, Russell Fry. Super cool story. I just wanted to share because I've been known him for years. He's obviously an attorney. Known each other through business for years. And we considered a decent buddy, and just talked about just politics and business a few times. But I've been friends on Facebook, and I mentioned that our daughter 3 weeks ago, Harper Sloan, she was born here at Conway Medical Center. I was born at Grand Strand. My wife was born at Grand Strand. Our son was born at Grand Strand, but our new daughter born at Conway Medical Center. But really cool, got a text message. He's like, "Hey, what's your address?" It's like, all right, and give him an address. I thought it was like maybe like a card or something, and got this super cool package came, and it had a flag for the United States of America. I'm like, okay, it's cool to have this amazing certificate with it. And it said the flag of the United States of America. And it said, this is a certified that the accompanying flag was flown over the United States Capitol at the request of Honorable Russell Fry, member of Congress. This flag was flown in celebration of the birth of Harper Lynn Sloan on 7/31/2024. And so that's super cool. I just want to give him a big thank you and shout out, man. He's been great for us here locally. A big fan of him and all the work that he's doing for us in Washington, D.C. I didn't know they even did that, but just wanted to give him a public thank you because he's been amazing for us and here in the Grand Strand. So big shout out to him as well. Back to the market, though. Super crazy stuff going on in terms of interest rates. We'll talk about that here in a second. There's a lot of pressure on Powell. Jerome Powell had the Fed to reduce rates in September, the next meeting. They're actually in Jackson Hole right now this weekend discussing strategy. And we'll get a transcript of that out probably next week. But we studied this like crazy. We watch it like crazy. But really quick recap for anyone that missed last week's show. We'll talk about the macro market. Single family sales last month were up huge, up 21%. It is a little skewed because for some reason last year, I can't remember why, in July of last year, it was like a huge dip in sales. I'm thinking that has to do with a storm or something that may have happened. But long story short, sales up 21.1% last month, which is July versus July. If you look at the 3-month average, sales are up 6.8% overall, which is pretty good in general. Sales price up 1.1% year over year. The only thing that worries me a little bit, so right now the median price is at $379,000. If you look at May, it was $405,000. Then it went down in June, $385,000, and then July, $379,000. So we have 3 months, in essence, of decline, which is going down. Average sale price, very similar as well. Average sale price is up 6.2% year over year, which is great. And I do think we're going to see price bounce back because you're going to see sales jump back up as rates are going back down, which is great news. May price, average sale price, $520,000. June, $501,000. And then July down to $478,000. So you're talking almost a $50,000 drop there just in 3 months for the average sale price. And it does bounce around. We talked about last week, some areas were down significantly, like Myrtle Beach. Remember, sales were down 26%. And the good news is, right, most prices are still climbing. But just the point of looking to understand, like when you're seeing 3 months of decline, you want to make sure you understand your strategy and you want to dig into the micro market, which is your overall neighborhood and zip code. One thing to really look at is inventory. Inventory has steadily been climbing. It's up 44% from the same time last year. Right now, we're still a seller's market, which is awesome. 4.2 months of inventory. Anything 6 months or more is a buyer's market, meaning the buyer has the advantage because there's more inventory than there is buyers out there. One key metric that we've been watching like crazy has to do with buyer traffic. Like how many buyers are looking at properties right now? Showings per listing is down 24.5% in MLS. And it tracks, this is through the software that basically you have to use to get approval to show a listing, right? Through the multiple listing service. So they have all the data. And one thing here is 3.7 showings per listing is the average showing that the average listing gets in MLS. So if you list your house for 6 months, the average listing out there is getting 3.7 showings total in that process. The crazy part is if the average amount of showings it takes to get a contract, they call this showings to pending, is 13.3. And so big gap there, right? Average listing gets 3.7. The overall average one to get contracts is 13.3, which is basically 3 times the amount of showings. And so what that means is if you're listing sitting there not selling, it's because they're not getting the right exposure. That's why the agent you choose matters so much. That's why it's a major problem to go with an agent who sells 4 homes a year, because there's not any marketing, which means you can't be differentiated. Why is that a major challenge? Because inventory is up 44%, which is your competition. There's a lot more inventory out there, a lot less buyers than previous. And so there's lies the problem. And that's why you're seeing the ones that sell need to make sure you have great marketing. If they don't have great marketing, the only way they can fix that is to drop the price. And that's what you're seeing happen when many home sellers tend to sell the property for less than it's worth. And that's why you want to make sure, like a lot of times they'll be like, oh, we had a great thing. We sold our house and we got the job done. The agent was great. They don't realize they have $40,000 on the table because it wasn't marketed right, wasn't negotiated right, all these small nuances that matter. And so that's why you want to talk about having the right agent, because of 2 main things. Obviously, selling real estate is very complex. It has a very long sales cycle. There's a lot of places in that transaction that can go wrong or that could harm you. We just saw a great article that came out this past week in Market Watch that said July had one of the largest amount of homes sales that blew up, aka fell through, with 60,000 plus home sales that fell through just in July. And that's some of the major challenges you run into. And so that's something we'll keep watching. It just goes back to say, like, look, here's the deal. You want to make sure you have an agent who really knows what they're doing, who can have the expertise to, number one, get the deal put together, but number two, keep the deal together so that you're not stuck owning 2 homes or not stuck owning 0 homes because the deal fell through last minute. One really quick thing, condos we'll talk about. Condos did pretty decent last month, bouncing back up 5.6%. It was in a decline really for the past few months. Sales price down 5.8% for average sale price last month for condos at $276,000. Prices for median price down 0.2% at $245,000. Not a big deal. One of the biggest challenges is supply. There's lots of condos in the market, right? People are seeing large assessments, insurance assessments, HOA issues. There's lots of things. Condos been getting hammered lately, and you're seeing a lot of condos on the market right now. 6.5 months of inventory, the highest we've seen since really before 2017. And so that's just something you want to keep watching. And so as that competition increases, you got to make sure you have someone who's on your side who can get that differentiation. Right now, the average showings per listing for a condo, this is how you know the condo market is getting not to say destroyed, but it's getting knocked around pretty good. Condo showings down 41.7% at 2.1 showings per listing. So the average listing for condo list, let's say 6 months, which most of them are on MLS, you see, 2.1 showings per listing, which is crazy, right? So you're getting 1 showing every 3 months, ironically there. The problem is, how many showings do you think it takes to get a contract? On average right now, it takes 10.5 showings to get a contract. And so it needs 5 times the amount of showings than the average condo is getting right now to go under contracts. Your property didn't sell. Those are type numbers you want to understand and look at and figure out, what do we got to do differently to get more traffic? Is it marketing? Is it issue? Most time we go in, when somebody calls us once it expires, we go in, we look, the photos are terrible. I looked at 3 this morning. All the houses. First photo is dark, is terrible. The next 4 photos after that are all the outside of the property, meaning that the buyers just look at 1 or 2 photos. If it doesn't intrigue them, they move on to the next listing. And so pictures 2, 3, and 4 have to sell them on looking at the rest of the photos. So you want that to be the best rooms, the living room, the master, the kitchen. And what most agents, they don't understand that. So the first 4 photos are all the outside of the house with the condo. Then you got walk through the door. Then you got the hallway. And so by then the buyer's already moved on to the next one, because buyers search by elimination, and most average agents who only sell a few houses don't understand buyer psychology, and that's why it's super important. And so we'll talk about that. Those are ones that closed last month. Really quick, we have the new properties that went under contract last 7 days. We track that every week since COVID started. That's how we really keep a real-time pulse to what's happening. And last week's show, for example, there's 409 properties under contract for $156 million. It was lower than usual because of the Hurricane Debbie, was it Debbie or whatever it was, Deborah came through, and it really rained for a week. People canceled trips to come in town. A lot of clients we had that were going to come in town didn't come, so they pushed that back. And so now we're seeing that bounce back. So last week's show, 409 under contract. This week's show, 515, which is awesome. A 26% increase week over week. Volume last week's show was 156 million. This week, 212 million, 92,000, 35.79% increase week over week in volume. So big money coming in. Lots of people coming back. One property this past week in Myrtle's Inlet, on the inlet down there, at $6 million, which is awesome news there. Big property. It was right there on the water in Myrtle. And I was trying to pull the pictures up. 10 bedrooms, 5.99 million on Walkmore Drive. So awesome stuff there in terms of that. Then also one property over 3.5 million, 6 properties over 2 million, 21 properties over 1 million, and 93 properties over 500,000. So a lot of big buyers coming right now. We've seen that with ourselves, putting some large ones under contract. And so if you're thinking about selling, you want to really understand what's going to drive that this fall. And one thing really going to drive that has been interest rates. And so that's something, if you look at last week's show, as a little higher, it's 6.58%. This week's show right now, it's 6.48%. It was at 6.46 early this week. It bounced back up a little bit. That came off the heels of the news that the Biden administration had to correct the jobless claims. There's actually 818,000, almost a million more jobs that they wrote off because we all knew they were inflating that job data, which was really impacting the market. And so rates adjusted slightly, which is affected by the bond market. And really good news right now for home buyers out there, also home sellers, because it increases the pool of buyers to come into your house. A 15-year fixed rate right now, 6% on the dot. A 30-year jumbo loan, 6.68%. A 30-year FHA loan, 5.94%, which is awesome overall because you're back in the fives, which is really good news. And I was pulling up this Fed website for you really quick. And then also a 30-year VA loan, 5.95. And so really FHA and VA both in the fives, which is good. We're probably going to see that drop a little more. Right now, like I mentioned, the next Federal Reserve meeting is September 18th. We track this daily in our office. And just because I'm a nerd for numbers, we want to make sure we advise our clients. And I want to forecast to help my clients make better decisions because really real estate's a long sales cycle. We have to make good decisions up front early. And so right now, the September 18th meeting, there's a 100% chance of the rate being dropped by the Fed based on calculation on Wall Street. And you're looking at a 65% chance that we see a quarter point drop, a 34% chance that we see a half point drop, which is good. And so that obviously does not directly correlate with mortgage rates, but indirectly it does in terms of how it affects the bond market and how banks lend money. And so if you're thinking about buying, get your stuff in order, start looking because you'll see rates go down. As rates go down, what do you think happens to buyers? More buyers get in. And what do you think that does to prices? It drives prices up. And so if I'm a home seller, the fall market's always great here. We have lots of different people that come in that usually avoid the crowds, don't have kids, a little bit older. And that's something we'll see as well. There's also right now looking at 100% chance of a rate easement. Dropping in the November 7th meeting as well. And so if you're thinking about selling, you definitely want to time that because we have a very, very, very interest rate driven marketplace right now. And those rates are predicted to come down. In addition to that, we all know it tends to happen around election time. There's pressure from the administration. I know it's not supposed to happen that way, but you can look back historically, it does. Rates get lower, more buyers jump in. So if you're thinking about selling, reach out to us, learn more about it, and we'll talk about that. I'll take a quick break right back in a second.
WRNN listeners, Clay Travis here. As investors in real estate, Buck and I both know exactly what to look for to find the agent with the best tools and
It's like
marketing.
5 minutes, you think?
The highest sales price possible for a home.
Totally true, Clay. And here in Myrtle Beach, that agent is our friend, Blake Sloan.
Hello, I think I met you at like a concert or something one time.
Buy a new one. Ask Blake about his guarantee.
Okay.
Get this, Blake guarantees to sell your home at a price and deadline you agree to, or he'll buy it himself. And since you know when your current home will sell by and for how much, you can buy your next home without worrying about getting stuck with 2 mortgages.
There's simply no other agent in the market who has a guarantee that will line up against what Blake Sloan can offer you. So when you're looking to sell and buy, he is your guy. Read nearly 750 5-star reviews by Googling Sloan Realty Group. Give Blake a call today and start packing. That's Sloan Realty Group.
And tune in to Blake's show Saturdays at 9 a.m. and Sundays at 11:30 a.m.
Hey, Myrtle Beach, it's Gary LaVox, lead singer of Rascal Flatts. When I'm Moving On won the award for ACM Song of the Year, it struck a chord with folks who understand the challenges that come with life's big changes. For many, that happens when it comes time to sell their home. If you're moving on, you want a real estate agent who will make selling your home easy and stress-free. An agent who's willing to let you out of the contract if you're not happy with their service. That's why in Myrtle Beach, I can tell you that Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group markets your home on a whole different level. Now listen, Blake is so confident in his ability to sell your home quickly and for more money that he guarantees to sell it or he'll buy it himself. If you're moving on, trust Blake to provide your family a stress-free home sale experience. Find Blake Sloan online at blakesloan.com or you can call him at 843-808-SOLD. Start packing.
Welcome back to Blake Sloan Radio Show. Hot Buyers Alert. My team and I are working with a ridiculous amount of home buyers looking to buy property here in the Myrtle Beach, Grand Sharon area, anywhere from $250,000 to $4.3 million. If you're thinking about selling, contact us immediately. 843-808-SOLD. That's 843-808-SOLD. One thing I've been doing here for a long time is just putting our money where our mouth is. Most agents promise you all kind of stuff, and they don't start marketing until they put the sign on the ground. And so one thing we do differently here is we outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. Last month, and here's one thing: as the market has slowed the last 12 to 24 months, most agents have pulled back marketing like crazy. We've actually doubled down. We spent over $95,000 last month just in marketing, bringing in buyers from all across the globe. And it's one of those things that we have a global reach. And so right now, what we do every week is share how many active buyers we have on our website with a username, password account, looking to buy properties just like yours. These aren't hits. These are actual people. Right now, 77,347 active home buyers. That's 77,347 active home buyers from all over the globe. Like right now, I got Cecil Henderson from Charlotte, North Carolina. I got D. Scarantino from Woodside, New York. Rhonda Pratt from Bayshore, New York. I got Peachtree City, Georgia. Endicott, New York. Bangor, PA. Bangor, PA. I guess there's Bangor, PA. Long, South Carolina. Crest Hill, New Jersey. All over the place here. I got Hector from Myrtle's Inlet. I got Bernard from Long. So we have local as well. I got Ottawa, Canada here. And so long story short, we're thinking about selling. What makes us different is that we have what we call buyers in waiting, looking for properties just like yours to reach out to. And so we match it up instantly with our software. We sell properties within minutes sometimes with our team of 30 plus salespeople, make 16,000 phone calls a week, which is easily how we're much more aggressive and sell properties for faster, more money than just one single agent out there working on your behalf. But really quick, awesome success stories. Just want to share a couple of those we do every week. Big shout out to Reggie and Pamela. They had an amazing home in Conway, right in the near of International Boulevard. It was actually the model home in their neighborhood. They wanted to move to Georgia, didn't want to deal with the hassle of showings, being on the market because they had 2 teenagers in the house and a busy schedule. They reached out to us after seeing our billboards for a guaranteed cash offer. I came in, we gave them the cash offer. They loved exactly what they wanted. We timed the closing, which is last Friday, on the exact day they wanted to close. The simultaneous close, they bought their new house in Georgia. The same day they closed here, we paid cash out there instantly, which is awesome. So big shout out to Rose. She owned a condo in Myrtle Beach. Unfortunately, her husband passed away last year. She decided it was time for her to sell the condo and start a different property, better suit her life. She heard about us from a friend, gave us a call. We came in, designed a custom plan, launched our global marketing list, professional photos, virtuality walkthrough. With just 2 weeks, had a fantastic offer in her condo. Now she used that money to purchase her new home to start a new life, which is awesome. Last one here, Joy owned a townhouse in Myrtle Beach. She began using it as a vacation home, just didn't use it the past 2 years. She actually went online, talked to 2 other agents, didn't like either one of them. Thankfully found us, reached out to us, was blown away what we had. I designed a custom plan, launched a global marketing blitz, professional photos, virtuality walkthrough, drove massive traffic, had it under contract within just 1 week. So big shout out there to Joy as well. If you want to be that next success story, reach out, call us 843-808-SOLD. We got about 1 minute left, I think. All right. One thing everybody's talking about right now is Kamala Harris, the whole unrealized gains thing that everybody's talking about. She's definitely worried about it here in Myrtle Beach. I don't want to get too political on it, but looking at it, 25% charge, and that we'll talk about next week's show. That would be unrealized gain. If your property goes from $200,000 to $300,000, guess what? You pay taxes 25% on that gain, even though you didn't sell it. We'll talk about it here on next week's show in detail so you guys can know what to do. See you back here next week. All right.